What's up? How you doing? Beautiful night tonight. Beautiful night, peaceful, perfect temperature. Sitting out here. It's not that late. It's like 9, I think it's like 9:41. 9:41. Have a cup of tea here. Lipton. Delicious. Delicious. Good stuff. And one of my favorite cups, Grand Canyon. I go to the Grand Canyon and I go in there, the little restaurant. I love it. I love it. I sit down and I look at the plates, and I was looking at my bride one day and I said I want to get one of those plates and a cup. And we got a few more than that, but I just love eating off of these and drinking out of them. Something about them, I was born for the Grand Canyon. Today I was walking by a restaurant, and you know that smell when they cook with wood, like hardwood, and it's that fragrance in the air. It's smoky, but it's that pleasant smoke, and I don't know what wood they use, but it's really nice. It has a really appealing scent. Makes the food taste a lot better too. But every time I smell it, I go, that's a nice smell. The other smell I appreciate is when you're in a cold state in the wintertime, like Maine, Montana, Wyoming, which by the way is the state with that's the only verb in the country. State that's a verb. So you smell a chimney in the distance. It's got that smell. You know what I'm talking about if you've been to a place like that. Even here in Southern California, sometimes people have chimneys, fireplaces. As long as the house was built before a certain time, they have them. And I'll be out here and I'll smell that fragrance flying by slowly, like LAPD going by. I know where they go every night. So I have a few albums here, not full albums. They're kind of like 45s. Remember the song "Far From Over"? Frank Stallone had that big hit. It's a limited edition. It's a 45 RPM record. And I picked it up. So it's extended club remix, which I've never heard, and then there's an instrumental on this. So both of these versions I've not heard. Remixed from the Staying Alive soundtrack album. Now, I've never seen Staying Alive. I've seen Saturday Night Fever, but I've never seen this. And apparently, Stallone, Sly, as they call him, and I find that name ridiculous. I'd rather be called Sylvester. All right, but anyway, he was he wrote it, he co-wrote it, he directed it, and Frank Stallone, they're brothers now. You think he'd have good communications with Sly, but Sly had that ego. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to let you get involved in this. And he said to him, Frank said, I'm having a hard time here financially, but I have some good tunes that I've written. Can you talk to somebody in there? Maybe I can get one of my songs in the movie, even a short clip with my song in there would be, financially satisfying to me. And I think his brother said, I don't think so. I don't think so. So I guess as the story goes, and I can't verify it, but it's not a bad story. But anyway, John Travolta did not like the Bee Gees music that they had written for the new movie, and he said, I don't like that, I don't like it. So they got all pissed off and they walked off, and then they tried notifying, I guess Billy Joel was on the list too, and he wasn't interested, and so they notified a few people. They didn't want to do it, and so they got to Frank. I guess Sly said, I got a brother who writes music. and they heard that song, and that's a decent song, and they used it. So, and I will say I met Frank a couple of times. One time I was at an auction. They were auctioning off all of the Sylvester Stallone stuff from all the movies, so I got to see everything. I don't even know how he ended up with that. What does he negotiate? You pay me this much, and I get all the props. I get all the stuff from the movies. He had everything from all the movies he was in. Everything. Shoes, suits, everything, everything. So I saw all the stuff, including the Rambo knives, which I was not impressed with in real life. You know, they didn't look that good. Did not look that good. So first time I met Frank was at the auction. Very nice guy. I cannot say enough, good things about him. He was very friendly, cordial. Wanted to spend time with the people there. Spend time with me. He was showing people a little bit of boxing moves there. So I found him very nice, very nice. We talked for a few minutes, and then fast forward like, I don't know, 5 years after that, I'm at the car wash. I'm not going to say which one because I think he goes there often. And I gave him my car. They do all the, the full service stuff. You give them the car, they clean the outside, they vacuum, they do all that. They put a little fragrance in there. And I give him my car, and then I'm walking back, and I'm waiting in the area that you wait. But I'm on the side of the building, and I see somebody pulling with an older model Bronco, and he gets out of his car, and his phone flips off and falls to the ground. He's pissed off. He grabs it and he starts marching my way, and the closer he got, I go, that's Frank Stallone. So I said, how you doing, Frank? And he gave me one of these, and then he went inside to pay, and then I went around the other way. I didn't wait for him. I felt like I embarrassed him by watching him. So that's what happened that time, and every time I go to that car wash I remember him, but I haven't seen him since that time. But like I said, very friendly, open to the public, unlike his brother Sly, who was hiding in the corner there with the suit on, and he wasn't really talking to anybody other than those 4 guys that he knows. So I was standing right next to him for a period of time, and he was saying, "Oh, I don't know." He was saying something, but it sounded like that to me. Anyway, that was that. And then I have another. This one, this one here. She was a big star for a period of time in the '80s. Had a song called Foolish Beat, which was a good tune. Very emotional. I felt it. Debbie Gibson. Debbie Gibson. So side one, also I think it's a 45, right? No. Got a couple of songs on each side, but it's 33 1/3 rotations per minute. Foolish Beat is on here, was a hit, and she was hot for a period of time. She was like, came off of the album Out of the Blue, and everybody was listening to Debbie Gibson. I don't know what. I think she did a duet, a duet of an old song of hers with Joey McIntyre, whom I've met. I met him. I kind of scared him a little bit not by accident. I didn't think I was going to scare him, but I saw him somewhere and he was sitting down, and I want to go talk to him. And he was on his phone, So I went up there and I said, hey. And he did one of these, which I thought was a bit over the top. He did that whole thing like there was an earthquake going. And then we talked, and I told him a few things because I kind of know a little bit, the background there. And we talked for like I don't know, 7, 8 minutes, and then I went my way, and that was that. So this one here, everybody knows this next artist. This is a 45. If I say the song, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Live to Tell. Live to Tell. Madonna. Madonna was hot back then. Red Iron. I mean, she's still popular, now, but in a different way. But back then, she was hot. It's funny, no matter how hot you are, time brings that all to an end. Eventually, your star goes out, gets dimmer at least, right? And we were all fans of hers. But I had a kid in my class, his name was Bill. And he was, I think he had a major crush on her. He would come in there, and he was, I want to say he was in love. He was floating as he would come into the classroom, and he would always talk about Madonna. He had pictures of her. He was like really into this Madonna. I haven't seen him since high school. If I ever ran into him now, I'd say to him, whatever happened with that Madonna situation? You ever get over that? What's her name? Sassoni, Ciccone? Something like that, right? Or is that Cher? I don't know. No, I think it's Madonna Ciccone or Ciccone. Maybe it says it somewhere here on the record, I don't know. Produced by Madonna and Pat Leonard. Now I know Pat Leonard from, I think he did one of the Leonard Cohen albums, and he did a really good job. If he didn't do Leonard Cohen, he did Adam Cohen, but I think he did Leonard Cohen. Let's see. Yeah, this goes way back. It says from the forthcoming Madonna album on Sire Records, and I guess motion picture at close range. 1986. How the years have flown. Yeah, she was something. What's going on in here? I love albums though. Yeah. How much? The record. 45 RPM. Yep. But my friend Bill there, he was into her. It happens. I was that way about Tootie. Facts of Life, yeah. I even liked Joanna Marie Polnicek for a period of time, especially when they went to Paris. They had that 2-hour special, and I really got into her. I liked that style. I liked that style. But it was just a fantasy. She drove a motorcycle. I thought that was cool. Joanna Marie Polnicek, I think she said she was part of the gang, the Diablos or something. Yeah, good music. Music for me, I can feel music. I can see color. It's a weird thing. I actually see color when I hear music. People can name songs to me, and I'll tell them what color I see. And I don't know why I associate color with certain types of melodies, but I do. Yeah, I see a lot of orange, a lot of black, a lot of blue, for certain songs. And I will say about Madonna, there's a song she did for League of Our Own, that movie with the baseball, a female team, World War II. Love that movie. But that used to be my playground, that song. I love that song. When I hear that, I can picture myself walking and that playing in the background in my old neighborhood. I picture myself walking and making pit stops to all the places that I hung around as a kid. And there's a lot of them. someday I'm going to go back there and do a video of all my hangouts that I mentioned throughout these videos that I make, and I'll have that song playing in the background. But yeah, when I hear that, it brings me back to my childhood, even though that song came out many years when I was a lot older. But when I hear it, I go, that matches. If I shot a video, that would be perfect music to play. Yeah. Delicious tea. So the weather, they say, is going to heat up. Oh, I'm trying to clear my throat. I don't know, but the weather's going to clear up. The throat is going to clear up, but the temperature is going to go up. I was listening to the news this morning, and they were saying there's a bit of a heat wave coming this way. So we'll see. One thing is that we're dry here, and it doesn't affect us as badly as, say, South Carolina, where it's very humid. What else is going on? A lot of things going on. Trying to think. Don't want to think too long and have a lot of dead space. One thing I'm happy about is that the music industry has decided to bring these back. Vinyl. I don't know when it was, like 20 years ago, I started noticing vinyl popping up in record stores, and they had a little special section on the side you would go to, and you'd find, like, I don't know, 30 artists who were on vinyl again. I was like, is this gonna catch on? Because I like vinyl, but I don't know if the rest of the people, in high enough numbers, like vinyl. But there's been a steady increase. Every year I go and I go, there's more now. Now when you go to Amoeba, there's a whole section of vinyl, which I appreciate, right? Vinyl, the quality of the sound for me is better, but also I used to buy, like, a new album, and I'd go in my room and I'd take a look at all the exterior shots. I'd read a little bit here, whatever, but I would never ever read the lyrics before I heard the album a bunch of times. I felt that would throw me off, because I would in my brain I would imagine, as they're singing the lyrics, what they looked like on the sheet, and it would ruin it for me. So I would listen to the album for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, many times. I'd get the full feel of it, and then I would start dissecting it. Then I would look at the lyrics, then I would look at the credits, who was on it, what instruments were played, who produced it, who wrote it, all that stuff. And I would go through everything here, but first I would listen to everything, and then I would go through this. But yeah, I love, when you get an album that's rich in material, like written out lyrics, like, for example, the Rolling Stones always had good stuff in there. Guns N' Roses, Billy Joel, if you get the album, had the lyrics. I've said this story a few times, but on Billy Joel, I would listen, like Innocent Man, when it came out. I heard the album dozens of times before I actually looked at the lyrics. And for the longest time, I thought the song Tell Her About It, that went to #1, his second #1 hit, the other one being It's Still Rock and Roll to Me. But when that came out and it was being played on the radio, I thought he was singing Give Her Every Reason to Accept That Chumpereel. And I thought chumpereel was slang for your nonsense, give her every reason to accept the crap, that you put out, your nonsense. And I heard it for a long time. I think it was like a couple of months before I looked at the lyrics. And I'd sing along, and I would sing, Give her every reason to accept that chump of real. And then one day, I go, okay, I'm going to look at the lyrics now. I'm going to dissect every song. And I'm sitting down, I'm reading the lyrics, and I get to the part where I think it says chump of real. And instead of that, it says, give her every reason to accept that you're for real. So I go put that on misheard lyrics. I don't know if anybody else heard those lyrics that way, but I did. And I thought it was a slang that I didn't know. I said chump of real. It's got to be a 50 slang word for, you know, like somebody's lying to you or, you know, giving you a hard time. You say, hey, stop that chump of real. Right? But it turns out he's just saying, give her every reason to accept that you're for real. But he said that you're for real. And I heard chump of real. Yeah. There's a Barry Manilow song too. What's it called? Lola Falana. What's that song? Tropicana there. I thought he said with little feathers in her hair and a piece of frog in there. And for years, that's what I thought it was. Piece of frog in there. And I go, that's a weird lyric. So one day I'm looking at the lyrics and it's not what it said. And then the other song was ABBA. That song, I thought that's like, what's the name of that song? I thought he sings, there's a gook in your eye. You know, when you wake up in the morning, maybe there's a gook in your eye. I thought he was looking at her and he said, hey, you know, you have a gook in your eye. So I'm hearing, there's a gook in your eye. Right? That's not what he sings. He says, there's a look in your eye. So I always sang it, there's a gook in your eye. And I love ABBA. You don't know how much I enjoy that group. And when they came out with that new album, I was happy, very happy. You know, and the fact that it sounded like old ABBA made me even happier. But I love ABBA. Favorite song of ABBA, The Day Before You Came. Love that song. I feel that. I feel the emotion inside. I get that feeling in my head that I can understand the lyrics, and I feel the singer. I feel her. Good tune. Anyway, that's it. Sometimes I'm out here and I think I'm the only one awake in the neighborhood this late. I've been out here 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. You know, and I'll tell you this right now, sometimes on trash day, I will put it off. I'll say, all right, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. Before you know it, it's 2 a.m. and I still haven't done it. So I will say, all right, now I have to do it. And I'll get out there and I'll start gathering the bags and putting them into the big, you know, containers there, and you know, bringing them outside. But I'm out there like it's 2:30 in the morning and I'm doing garbage. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody. So yeah, lately I've been doing it a bit earlier, like 10. We'll see how long that lasts. And I've been trying to get more sleep, like better sleep at night. Because generally, you know, I go to bed 2, I'm up at 6. You know, and you know, you can take a cat nap here and there, you know, like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, but it's not a good substitute for getting a good night's sleep. But lately, I've been getting, you know, a lot more than that, you know, like 6 hours, and I'm trying to get it up to the 8, which when I was a kid, I was very punctual when it came to sleep. You know, I would not sleep extra, but I would sleep the right amount of time, 11 to 7. I'd go to bed at 10 minutes before 11. I'd do all my stuff, brush, you know, gargle, all that, you know, wash up a little bit. I'd go to bed and I would be out like a light within, you know, 5-6 minutes. And then in the morning I would get up at 7, take a nice shower, you know, had the Coast soap, you know, waking up, and that was my thing. All throughout school, I was an 11 to 7 type of guy. And then somewhere along the line, I became late sleeper and not really a late riser. I was never, like getting up at noontime. Never did that. When I was younger and I'd, watch cartoons, I would be up at 7. Even if it was a Saturday or a Sunday, it didn't matter. I was up at 7. But I really want to get back to that 8 hours, 11 to 7. I don't even mind 10 to 6. 10 to 6 is fine with me because I get up at 6 anyway. So that would be even better. I like to get up, go, to my room, get in the bed, pull the covers, and fall asleep by 10. And then wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning. But so far, although I have been getting better sleep the past, couple of weeks. And I dream a lot. Like, it's like, stop dreaming. Last night I had a dream. I lived in a house that had a big opening, like a garage door opening on the side. So you had to go down this concrete driveway, and then there was a big opening. So I sealed it with like aluminum or metal or something, and I put it up. And then at some point in the dream, I took it down. And the second I took it down, a big possum went underneath my house through that opening, and I couldn't get him out. I was like, come on. And he wouldn't come out, and then he disappeared. And in my dream, I called someone up. I said, hey, there's a possum in my basement. Can you come get him? I can't find him. And the whole dream was based on that. It was based on me waiting for somebody, waiting for the possum. And then at some point, it wasn't a possum anymore. It was a raccoon. So, a weird dream. But I dream. I have a lot of. I love nightmares. What I love about nightmares, besides the excitement of the dream, I love the fact that they're fake, and eventually you get to wake up and realize you just experienced something frightful, but it was not real. The worst kind is when it is real and you can't wake up from it. But yeah, I have these, like, if I have a nightmare, you wake up in shock. You're like, it was just a dream. Like you're falling or something, being chased by sharks. And then you wake up and you get that cozy feeling with a nice blanket, and you're like, oh, it was just a dream, and you go into a deeper sleep. I will say I still love them, but they don't happen here. Lightning and thunderstorms. I love them. When I was a kid, I would open up my windows. I always slept with the window open. Always. Even in the dead of winter when it was freezing out, I always had the window open. My parents in the morning sometimes would come into my room, for something, grab a blanket from my closet or whatever. And my mother was like, why is your room always so cold? And I'm like, because the windows are like 4 inches open, both of them. You don't see that? So anyway, I always had the window open. And I love the nice cozy blanket with the windows open. Always slept like that. Then I met my bride. And at the beginning, she was okay with that. And then she was not okay with it. Now, she wants the windows sealed at night. And I want them open. So I've lost that battle. Lost it. But my whole life I always slept with the windows open at night, including the winter. And what I appreciated, like say when it was thunder season, lightning and thunder, I'd have the windows wide open, the curtains blowing from, the coming storm. It was a storm coming, and I'd fall asleep. And then at some point, the really crazy, powerful thunder would hit, and it sounded like missiles were dropping. And I would wake up. I remember one time it hit so hard, it literally sounded like it was like a quarter of a mile away. And I heard that boom, and it woke me up, and I saw the flash in my room. I mean, not that particular flash, but I stayed awake a little bit, and there were other flashes. It looked like somebody was taking my picture. And I remember it was so crazy. It literally felt like there were, planes overhead dropping bombs. It was so loud. But here, barely. I don't know if it has to do something with the fact that we're a drier, I don't know. I don't know if it's the dryness. I don't know what it is, but we just don't get lightning and thunder. We may get lightning somewhere. We get fires. I know that. So, yeah, but I miss that build up. Miss it. And then of course you have the flash first, because light travels faster than sound, and then you count 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4, and figure out how far that was. One time I was sitting with a friend of mine in the backyard underneath the porch, and this guy was 60 years older than me, older guy. And we were talking, having a conversation, and it was raining hard. Cats, dogs, bulldozers, all that. It was just raining. It was coming down hard. And we were just talking. And then all of a sudden, this massive thunder strike hit. And he was an old guy, but he jumped from where he was sitting across from me. And he jumped from there, and he came next to my side within like a quarter second. And he was like, "Oh," he goes, "Did you hear that?" I go, I heard that. And then you could taste like a metallic flavor in your mouth from the ions in the atmosphere. But it was brutal. It literally sounded like somebody set off dynamite, like next door. So I missed that. One time I was in the desert, and it was like that. I was just sitting there in my car enjoying the thunder and the lightning. And then another time, years ago, we were coming back from Vegas, driving, on the highway, and there were lightning strikes every few seconds. The sky would light up at night with this like spider web of lightning. And I was like, wow. And then another time we were heading to Vegas, and we stopped because this beautiful rainbow formed. Perfect. You could see, both sides, and no pot of gold. And we stopped, and I took a bunch of pictures, but it was so defined. The prism had broken, all the water droplets had broken up the white light into the rainbow colors. And then that Lucky Charms guy ran by. I couldn't keep up. So anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.